So, brethren, we'll continue with the days of creation. So far, we consider the first day, second day, third day, and we have the assignment of the fourth day. Before we get into this, I want to make it a little bit more practical. What I was thinking is that why did God give us these details? And it is so beautiful when we think that God wanted to show us that while we look at different things, how this could have happened, how God created the physics and the science behind it, but when we go back and we see God's love shared with mankind, because we know that God is love, and love always wants to give, wants to create, wants to share. That's what it says, that it's better to give than to receive. So in all these days of creation, we see God's love in a way that he wants to share his love. He wants to share what he has with the mankind. And he wanted to create man, to have fellowship, to dwell with him. And again, when we cover these days of creation, let's keep this in mind. Let's see this side of our Creator, to share who is he with all of us. And I find it very, very touching for myself. Also, as we look at the days of creation, we see that, this is just a side note, that the first 3 chapters of Genesis are literally a parallel of the last 3 chapters of Revelation. So it's almost like the Bible starts with the creation, with the fall of man, and then it ends with another 3 chapters of restoration. We see so many parallels, we won't get into that, but we see how God was dwelling with man, the dwelling was removed. In Revelation, we see it again. It says, and I'll dwell with them. We see the sin came into the world, and then we see that sin removed. We see death comes here in Revelation, says no more death, no more pain. And then in the middle of all these 3 chapters, we have God's plan of permission of evil. And in the middle of it, we have the salvation that comes through Jesus Christ, that through him, now restoration is possible. So anyway, just a side note to make this practical for each one of us as we look at this. And to realize this important element. So we'll cover what exactly was created on the 4th day. We'll cover that, and then Brother Jerisa mentioned, but we'll go a little bit more into this aspect that if light was created on the 1st day, what exactly was on the 4th day? Because usually we associate light with the sun. So we'll expand a little bit more on what was covered. But also I would like to spend a little bit of time and to look at the spiritual meaning of light. That is very important because it was already mentioned, God is light. And again, we see something very meaningful into this creation of sun and the moon and everything else. Another important thing that we see, and it was mentioned that the days of creation start with the earth and the moon and the sun already in existence, probably for billions of years. So these days are just a preparation for the earth to be inhabited by man. So everything was prepared by God in a certain word, in a certain way that he can dwell with man on earth. And we have the scriptures on the screen. So let's read the verses that relate to the 4th day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days and years. And that's very important. We'll spend some time on that. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, and the great light to rule the day, which is the sun, and the lesser light to rule the night, that's the moon, and he made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day, over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And that's a very beautiful aspect here, because now we see the gospel where we are called out of darkness into his marvelous light. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the 4th day. So to summarize, what we see here is that God created the sun, the moon, and the stars on the fourth day. Or, to be more detailed, and we will cover that as well, not necessarily that created them, they existed, but they made them be visible on earth. And I know some brethren in this audience know a little bit more about science. I'm not a scientist, I'm just sharing, which I think it does make sense, and we have the photodrama of creation where Brother Russell explains, and I'm sure there are many other details that probably we can cover, but I think this is a beautiful way to look at this. So, as it was said, on the first day, there was the light created. This is just a picture to illustrate. It's not really very well noticeable, but definitely there were lights, and as it was mentioned, Brother Jerry said, it was more of that aurora borealis light. It was more of that charged atmosphere that created those sparks. And that's important for us, because in our mind, when we see light, we associate it with the sun. And that was not what happened in the first day. That was not the light that came from the sun. And that's not, I actually was looking what other Christians believe, and definitely some say that God is light, that's what he did on the first day, and there are different interpretations. But I think looking at this, it does really make sense. So continuing with day 2 and day 3, we can see the progression that continued that led toward day 4. On the second day, God divided or separated the waters above from the waters below. And on the third day, there were those grasses or different vegetation created that was able to survive or to be in that kind of environment. And also that led to the fourth day. So now we come to the essence of our study here. So Brother Russell in the Photodrama of Creation says that it's not necessary to suppose that the sun and the moon were created after our earth. Instead, there is a much more reasonable way in viewing the matter. The sun, the moon, and the stars were created long before that, but had never up to this time cast their light upon the earth because of the veil or the rings or the canopy that existed upon the earth. So here we can see that, as Brother Russell explained, the photodrama of creation, I think it makes sense, certain rings started to fall or to dissolve, and then that light was able to penetrate. And possibly, as some of you believe, that probably the full light came after the flood when the last ring of water fell upon the earth. So what occurred, as we mentioned on the fourth day, was that another of those great rings fell and broke. And then on the fourth day, the atmosphere cleared enough for these heavenly bodies, for the star and the moon and the stars to be visible from the earth. And then we read something very important in that context, that the Genesis is describing their appearance, and for the reason is to divide the day from the night. He gave them as signs, also as seasons, and also to mark days and years. And we'll look a little bit more into this because it's very beautiful. And now I'm sure we think about maybe different even dreams or prophecies that relate to the heavenly bodies like this. And another important aspect when we look to the day 4 is that we have two Hebrew words that are used in Genesis when it comes to the word creation, bara and asah. And even Brother Russell brings that out, but I looked a little bit more, and then in this context is used the second word on the right, which this word it's not necessarily to create, but it's to prepare, to arrange, to appoint, or to bring into function. And that's what happened, that on this day we have the sun now revealing its light and bringing it all the way to the earth. And then Just to summarize the days of creation, what happened so far, what we have so far. Now we have the sun and the moon and the stars ready for the next day of creation, where animals and full vegetation could exist in the sense that maybe we see them today. Now photosynthesis and other elements could fully function, and then ultimately man would to be created. Let's look at this important aspect where we read that they were created for signs, seasons, days, and years. When we think of signs, what signs are related to the earth, to the sun, the moon, and the stars? And I'm sure that all of you understand, and you have that in your mind, that the sun represents the gospel light. That's what we read in the New Testament, and Jesus said that I am the light of the world. He brought that gospel to us. And the moon, as we know, the moon doesn't have its own light. The moon just reflects the light from the sun. How beautiful that represents the law that was given to the nation of Israel, the law was a reflection of the gospel, was something that was to bring us to Christ. Apostle Paul said it's a schoolmaster to bring us to Christ. But it doesn't have its own light. It cannot bring life. It could not give life to anyone who would follow. That's why it doesn't have its own light. So what a beautiful sign we have this. It's a prophetic sign. But then we have physical signs as well. You remember the star that led the Magi to Jesus? That was used as a sign. Joseph had a dream about the sun, the moon, the stars. So we see the relationship here. Now we have Revelation 12, where the woman is with the sun, the moon, and the stars. Again, very beautiful parallels how God brings everything together. And of course, for seasons, because of the sun, that's why, and the moon, that's why we have the seasons that we have. And then the days and years, that's how we calculate the calendar. That's how we know what day it is and how many days are left and so on. So that means that they regulate time, agriculture, climate cycle, and many rhythms on Earth. So without them, human or civilization could not exist or could not function. And just very briefly, a few minutes. Thank you, Brother Edward. Just we'll look at the aspect that, as it was mentioned, that God is light. Not that God has light or God gives light, but He is light. And how beautiful it is that even with day 1 and day 4, He shared who He is, His nature with mankind. He almost like, not that He gave Himself, but now He let us see, because through this creation we can see Him. And that's very beautiful. And we have some scriptures on the screen. We won't read them, but even David said that the Lord is my light and my salvation. Isaiah said that ultimately the Lord will be your everlasting light. And then Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And then Jesus in a parable said in Matthew 13 that you will shine like the sun in the kingdom. What a beautiful parallel, that if we are faithful, we will be part of that light, that we can shine, we can give, we can bring that gospel to the whole world of mankind. And Jesus didn't say that only His light, but He said that once you take this light, you go and you be a light in this world. Let through you people see the light of the gospel. Let them see the sun that shines the gospel upon mankind. And with these thoughts, we'll summarize day 4. And just as the sun on the 4th day was appointed to rule, to govern, to bring order, direction, and life on the earth, So the believer, each one of you, each one of us, as we walk, we have to give direction. We have to bring a light on this world as much as we can in this day, in this evil day when darkness covers the earth. You are and we are to be a light in this world. And then ultimately, if we are faithful, one day we'll bring light. And God doesn't necessarily look how much result we'll bring, or how many follow us, or what are the results of our accomplishment. If we look at Noah, as much as he preached, there was only his family that went with him on the boat. But Peter calls him a preacher of righteousness, because in spite of the darkness that was on the earth, he preached the gospel and made the light shine through us. Thank you, brethren. I think it's a very beautiful concept here in the fourth day of creation, and very beautiful symbolism.
So thank you, Brother John. So we have 5 minutes for questions. So I'll call you first before I'll come to Brother Nicholas.
All right. Thank you, Brother John. Everything you said is clearing. Now I want to ask a question. From Genesis 1 to Genesis 5, all the sentence there is clearing. Most especially verse 4, which says, "And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness." Meaning, the darkness is inside the light, and God divided it. God brought the darkness out from the light. And now, let's look at this verse 6. "And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Now, my question is, from verse 1 to verse 6, there is nowhere it was written that God created water. And now, the water, my question is this water a self-existence? Has it been existing before the creation, or it's a thing that have been existing with God himself?
That's a very deep question. Thank you. Let me see if I understood the question right. The question was that in verse 6, where it says, "Will let us separate the waters from the waters." If this water is the same waters that we see today?
No, the water is self-existence.
Oh, I see. If the water is
the water existing before the creation of the heavens and the earth? Or, because it's not being mentioned here, that God, he mentioned everything.
Yeah.
As in the writer mentioned everything that God created from first day up to the 5th day. But this 6th day now, he mentioned the firmament, right? And he now said, in the midst of the firmament,
Now I understand if the water was always there, or if the water was created.
Firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide waters from the waters. Now, is this water that is dividing water from water, has the water been existing before the creation of the heavens and earth? Is the water existing with God himself, or is a self-existence, or God created it before creating any other thing?
I understand. Thank you so much. That's probably a little bit more related to day 2, but definitely we can cover it, and we might need Brother Richard's help here a little bit. But our understanding is, and Brother Jerisa mentioned, that as planet Saturn had those rings around it, we understand and we believe that the Earth had those rings around as well. The way I probably understand is that there was water in existence, or some of those rings of water fell upon the earth and that's where the water came from. And then on day 2, God made the earth appear, made that out of, because it was those rings that fell on the earth, they would cover the whole earth with water. But on day 2, now he separated, and we have the mainlands, we have the continents. But I don't know, I really would like Brother Richards. Would you be able to? Your voice? Thank you, Brother Richard. So I don't know.
No. Brother Nicholas.
Thank you all so much, Brother John. Thank you for your presentation. And I love it when you brought in the physical reality as well as the spiritual significance, the lessons we can learn from the 4th day of our creation. And there are 2 words that you use, that is barak and asad. Okay, and you pointed out that barak means actual creation, and asad means to the point or to design and prepare. Now, with the issue of the sun, because I just can't put my point on the reference right now, but it is believed that there are more than one sun, okay? There could be other words out there, millions of them. There are millions of suns. So with the creation of the sun, under Barak, that the sun was already created. And at the time God was ordering the earth, he just allowed it under the issue of Asad, right? So do you believe that the sun that governs our earth right now was the only sun God created, or there were others that God created?
Definitely we know that there are more suns at the moment, correct? And then the question is when each one of them was created in the stream of time. We believe, or I believe that, and many actually brethren, I've heard this thought that God keeps creating, and because God is a creator. And in what, if our sun was the first created, or it was kind of created more in the stream of time, I'm not sure. It's more of a, speculation. But definitely we believe there are more suns, and if God started way before, we read in the beginning there was the heaven and the earth. If God started with our galaxy or our solar system, maybe that would make sense, and then expand beyond that. But yeah, I don't know if our sun was first or later. But it would make sense that he would start with this, because that's where mankind is created.
Thank you. I saw a hand over here. Okay.
Thank you, Brother John, for the wonderful presentation you're having. Now, this is what the Bible tells us, and I expect you to tell me what the firmament is. That is Daniel chapter 12, verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Now my question is, what is the firmament? Thank you.
Yeah. This man, brethren, you are very studied. I really appreciate that. And I really love these sessions, because you get to know your brethren. You get to know, because otherwise in our interaction we might not get in those conversations. Very good. This is a really good verse. And I think in these 2 verses, I was able to find it. We have the 4 classes of mankind showing here. Because it's verse 3, right? Will shine like the glow of the expanse of heaven. This is the sun, and then we have the stars, and then we have. So I think it does refer to the sun of the firmament, and I think that's where the church class comes in. And then we can look more into that. That's a very good. And I think we have also the great company, and then we have the ancient words and the world, because we have the stars and then we have the rest. Does that? I think it's, and that connects very good with John 5:28 as well, where we have the resurrection, and then we have again the 4 classes of resurrection there. But very good.
Okay, thank you. So now.
Thank you for this opportunity. My question goes, how did the sun start to appear on the 4th day? That's number 1. The second one is, God is all-knowing. Kindly explain.
So the first question, how did the sun started to appear on the 4th day? All-knowing?
Is that not your question? How is it that God is all-knowing? Yeah.
So as we mentioned on the 4th day, and we have this picture, and I think it does illustrate that before the 4th day, and this is what was on the 4th day, on the first day when Brother Jerisa mentioned, it was more of the lights, electrical discharge or aurora borealis lights, but then on the 4th day, we had some of these rings that would surround the earth fell or dissolve or fell upon the earth. Part of them was probably more waters, the question was, and now the sun could penetrate through the rings a little bit more to the degree that they would be visible, and then they would have more light on earth. Did that answer? And then how is God all-knowing, knowing everything? So, brethren, this is one of those questions that we as humans, we try to understand something what a divine nature is. And I don't think we can fully grasp and understand that. However, in Corinthians it says, but he gave us the Holy Spirit so we can understand to a degree spiritual things. Even the concept to understand that God existed before everything else, that's a hard concept for us to understand, because we live in a world where everything starts and ends. Our minds are not framed in a way that things can last forever. So that's why understanding how God can know everything is just beyond probably our understanding. My thought is that he is the creator, that he is the creator of everything. He is the Father of lights. He is the one. In him there is no in him there is no darkness. So I don't know how much better to explain, I'm sorry, but it's the creator who created everything and knows everything, and that's why it says that even the hairs in your head are numbered, just to understand that he counts everything.
So thank you so much, Brother John. So do you think, so should we give that 3 minutes to Dane? Okay, you, my dear sister, be quick because we are almost time. No, the microphone.
With my little research and my understanding, I came to realize that there are these 3 qualities that God created this world with: wisdom, power, and understanding. Now let's look at Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 12. It says, It is he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom, and by his understanding he stretched out the heaven. Thank you.
Please, is this a question or a comment? So
it's a comment. That's a very beautiful comment. Yeah, thank you. What was that, Jeremiah 10:12? Okay, thank you. Very good comment. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Brother John.